Oh, hi everybody. This tutorial is going to go over how to create an artist page. You should pick an artist of your choosing. If you want inspiration, there's some ideas in the post in Google Classroom. But this is kind of where we're going with the page, or what this tutorial is going to take you to. There's a space for a header, an about the artist section, and then an image gallery below. I'd like you to try to include at least 9 images, and there's a space for brilliant footer content as well. And each of the image will trigger a modal when it's clicked. And for my page, I had the title of the piece of art, a thumbnail, sketch, and also some additional information. Cool, so that's where we're going. My strong recommendation to start off with is to duplicate your Bootstrap template project folder and then retitle it artist page, retitle your HTML artist page, and then start by choosing the images you would like to get on your page, and as well as a picture of your artist. So that's at least where I'm starting with this video. So I have it all here, all in one folder, and then you can see in Atom. Let me just open this in a browser. You can see in Atom, here is my HTML, and I'll drag this in here too. And there's my blank style sheet. Okay, so here's where I'm starting. So here we have my page, my attached style sheet, my Bootstrap library, and I'm just going to get started in the body. I'm going to start with just a well. And inside the well is where I'm going to have my header. And just to kind of show you, a well that's unstyled is just going to create this kind of gray partition. You can give it color, you can design it however you want, but we'll start there. And then underneath that is going to be the about the artist section. So we'll give it a class of, it's going to be its own row. And it's going to have 2 columns. The first column, at least for my design, is going to be spanning 4 of the columns in the grid system. So I'll open that, close it, inside. I'm putting my image. And then because this is Bootstrap, I'm going to give it a class of image responsive. And I really like the thumbnail look in Bootstrap, so I'm going to also do that as well. Okay, so here's my first column, opening and closing, and then I'm going to create a second column that has the about the artists. And I want it to take up the remaining 8 columns in the grid system. So I'll say column small 8. And then within that, I'm going to use an H2 for the header. And put in about the artist. And then for the purposes of this, I'll just give some mock text, but I'm going to eventually pull some real text. Right there. All right, cool. So let's see what we got. All right, awesome. And you can see it's responsive automatically. Great. So next up, I'm going to create another basic well, and that's going to introduce the image gallery. I'm going to use H2. And you'll see that appear. And then I'm going to start using comments so I don't confuse myself. So I'll start in on the first row of the of the image gallery. Give it a class of row. And remember the format for that is this. And this is really going to help me if I get tripped up. This is actually going to become a really long HTML document, so this is going to help me if I get tripped up and I need to see where my divs don't match. So fantastico. Okay, for my purposes, I set up 3 equal columns for each row. So that's going to be creating a class of a column that spans 4 of the 12 grids. Okay. And I've already done the work to make all my images line up in Photoshop. So you're going to want to do that. Okay, again, the image, you want a class of image responsive. I'm going to keep mine all as thumbnails. And then this is the new part. So there's going to be, for the image, you're going to use data toggle and say we want a modal. And the target for the first one, for my first image, it's going to follow this format. And it's going to say number sign first modal. And then I'm going to do some inline styling, give it a width of 100%. Okay. So now I have this. This is for 1 of 3 images. I'm going to actually take this code here, copy it, paste it once, paste it twice. And then what I need, I've already saved my images. So this is going to become 2. And then this is going to become second modal. And this is going to become 3. And this is going to become third modal. Everything else remains the same. Let's see what we got on our page. All right, and so cool. It is shaping up. Now we haven't actually done the code for the modal, so that's not going to work yet, but that's a good start. Okay, so now I have 1 row of images. I'm going to make 2 more. And how I'm going to do that is the efficient way. I'm going to copy here, paste it once. This is now the second row of images, and this is the ending of the second row. And this is now 4 and 4th. This is now 5 and 5th. And this is 6 and 6th. Save. Hey y'all, it's time for lunch. And then you guessed it, right? This is the third row of images. This is the ending of the third row. And this is 7. Cool, let's see what we got. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. So now we just need, I'm going to create just a very simple footer. You can kind of do whatever makes your heart sing here. So give it the This is the Bootstrap class for a footer. I'm going to make big 6. And this is the font. I want it to be large, and I want it to be centered. And Bootstrap classes are going to help me with that. So I'm going to leave this like entirely up to you, how you choose what kind of links or information you want to choose in your footer. So brilliant footer content. And then we'll style that in the style sheet. So right now it'll just show up super sad on the page. But there's a space for it. Hooray. Okay, now here's where things get interesting. So we have our basic mock page, and now it's a matter of attaching modals to each of these elements. So what you're going to want to do is go into, I'm going to do it from W3 Schools, my new best friend. I'll do Bootstrap here. And they have some great information about modals. We are not using a button to trigger a modal. In fact, we're using the image itself. So if you recall, if you look up here, where the trigger for the modal is actually for a long time. Okay. The trigger is actually within the image. So so we're not going to need that piece of code. But if you copy from here, and actually because the modal is going to be triggered based on the data target, it actually doesn't matter where in your code you put it. I think for readability purposes, for myself, I prefer to have it underneath all of the rest of the elements on the page. So I literally copied and pasted this this from W3 Schools, and I'm just going to need to change the ID name. So here it's my modal. It's going to become first modal. And what's matching here is this is saying, hey, all the content in this modal is going to be triggered when this first image is clicked. And data target first modal, this is what's got to match on each of these. So as you can guess, what you're going to end up with is 9 different of these modals, and they're each going to have a different ID name. So let's see what we've got for now. Okay, super boring modal, but it's working. So I'm going to give it a bit of styling. And the way I'm going to do that is for myself, and again, you can choose your own design, but for myself, I'm doing, inside the modal itself, I am going to within the body, I'm going to create a row with two equal columns. So class equals row, close it off, and then within that, I'm going to create they're both going to span 6 of the 12 columns, so they'll be equal. So there's one. I'm going to copy and paste down here. There's the other one. The first is going to be just a smaller thumbnail of the image that's already there. So for the first one, it will be image and it'll be whatever you title your first image. And I'm also going to make it a thumbnail. So that's half of the modal is going to be that, and the other half is going to be the text about it. So, oh, oops, I already did that. Sorry, y'all. And I'm going to use some lorem ipsum and fill in the content later. So now let's see what we got. Save it, reload it. Okay, cool. And now there's not much styling here, but there's the modal. We've got the image on one side, the text about it on the other, place for the heading. It's all brilliant. I'm going to do the rest of this kind of quickly, but you have the basic format now. So here's the first modal. If you want to make modals when you go to make modals for all of your other images, ooh, now this is why comments are important. Okay, modal footer. Actually, that's great. Okay, so here I'm going to comment that so I have it. Okay, so this goes with the first image, and then literally it's going to be a matter of copying and pasting modals for the other ones. So there's the second, and what needs to change for each one is the image. And instead of this is the important part, this is what's going to link it, is going to be changing the ID. The second. Okay, save that. Let's grab the modal again. And same thing, second modal becomes third modal. And for me, since I already have my pictures done, this becomes 3. And I'm going to change the content at a different time so to bore you to tears. So now if I save and reload, I should have working modals on my first row. Fantastic. Okay, I'm not going to do the whole rest of the page because it's going to get super boring. Hopefully you have enough information. It's just going to be a matter of attaching modals and changing the name. I do want to show you some kind of basic styling. So in my style section, actually I'm going to go back here and call this, so this is my header. I'm going to call it header and save it. And then this well, I'm going to give an ID name of gallery. And then in my style section, I'm going to style my header. For myself, I just pulled some colors I liked. Okay. I'm going to let you do colors actually on your own because you get it. But I would recommend creating a margin bottom. I'll set mine to 20 pixels and applying it to each of your rows. It'll kind of create some breathing room between rows. So I got some good space. Maybe I'll do the last one. A bit of background. I can also style the footer by tag, since there's only one. So that's that. Let's see how it looks. All right, not too bad. And then the final piece is, as you see right now, the modal, kind of the default when it pops up is just to be white, have a white background. If you go to the HTML, you can see the modal is broken into a modal header and a modal footer. So my last piece is to call those up by class. Give it a background color of and dot modal. All right, let's see. Cool. And now I've got a color scheme. You should obviously, when you go to do your artist page, style it in a way that makes your heart sing. Find a palette that you like. I recommend personalizing all of the fonts and just having fun with it. All right, I hope this helps.